Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host, Alex Lambert, and let's talk about the NASCAR Texas All Star Race, a very controversial race between Ryan Blaney's window net down and not being able to put it back up, between the caution that was thrown literally a few yards before Ryan Blaney won this race, wherefore he had to win it two times, essentially. And of course, I'm going to talk about the big wreck that we had, and of course, I'm going to point out a few noticeable finishers in this race. But first off, let's start the episode on kind of a downside. I want to talk a little bit about the negatives. Very controversial. Fans are upset. I've already seen some drivers say some things on social media expressing their displeasure with the call NASCAR made at the end of this race, understandably. Basically what happened was Ryan Blaney was coming to the All-Star Race win, and right before he took the checkered flag, like a few yards, less than a second, probably a second or two away from the checkered flag, the caution was thrown for a car hitting the wall. I believe it was close to the back straightaway, maybe going into turn 3, I believe is where it was at. And NASCAR threw the caution seconds before Ryan Blaney got to the line. It's really controversial, and I think most fans can agree, at least right now, most fans are agreeing that the caution shouldn't have came out. Now, the rule is clear for the All-Star race, and it's been this way for the last few All-Star races, that the winner has to get to the checkered flag. The leader has to get to the checkered flag to finish the race. He has to complete the last lap for this race to be official, for them to not be able to throw a caution and reset the field. That rule, I think, was clear. That's not really the point of concern, I think. I think maybe moving forward after this very controversial situation and not great-looking situation for NASCAR, that rule might need to be reversed. We go like we do regular season races, the leader has to get to the white flag. I think that's kind of what we need to go back to after this incident. I get why they made the rule to begin with. Okay, make it more exciting to where it's not over till you get to the checkered flag. Great, that's great for the All-Star race. I see where they came from, but I think especially after this incident, let's just next year, if we do the All-Star race next year, which I think we will, let's just reverse that rule. Let's just go back to the regular white flag rule so we don't have this situation again. I think that would be more simple and easier to explain in the future. And then, of course, Ryan Blaney put the window net down because he was, celebrating the win. Well, first off, the caution shouldn't have came out. I think that's what we can all agree on. It was not anything that warranted a caution, especially right when everybody was coming up across the start-finish line for Ryan Blaney to win the race. I think that's another point of controversy. The rule was set, right? The rule was set. I don't have a problem with the rule itself. That rule was set prior to this race. I think the problem was the caution came out and it didn't warrant a caution at all. A car hit the wall, out of everybody's way, in the back of the pack. NASCAR said in the past we throw cautions when we need to dispatch an ambulance or safety officials. NASCAR in this situation obviously didn't need to dispatch safety officials or an ambulance. They also, I think the track was fairly clear after the incident, especially considering by the time the cars got back around, the race would be over. They'd be going way slower, and the race results would already be in. I don't know, just a bad look for NASCAR for sure. That needs to be addressed moving forward. We should not be throwing cautions for small spins, and this has been happening, I think, more in NASCAR the last few years, especially this season. It feels like, just little spins where the car keeps going as a caution. I think that needs to be talked about and should not be the case. And, of course, we had the window net situation where Ryan Blaney put the window net down because they thought they win the race. The 12 team was for sure they had won the All-Star race. And then they got the word from NASCAR that they did not win the All-Star race. And that can be really frustrating, too. I think in this situation, this is another kind of flaw in the NASCAR officiating system. They should have let him come down. This is a safety concern, a major safety concern. Now, obviously, is there going to be a big wreck that hurts Ryan Blaney? Probably not. But there is a chance, and it's an unnecessary chance and an unnecessary risk to take. I think a simple solution to that would have been to say, let's just let Ryan Blaney come down pit road. We'll let him come back out as a leader. Let's fix this window net. We know it was an unusual rule. It's the All-Star race, special rules, right? Like the broadcast crew said. So we can change things up a little bit, make things a little bit different. And I think that's what NASCAR should have done in this instance. Just let Ryan Blaney come down pit road, fix the safety hazard, fix the window net concern, and let him get back out in the lead. So that way you don't have more controversy, obviously. And that way, that kind of makes everything fair, right? Ryan Blaney, in an unusual situation, was called back the winner. He was not the winner. You don't want him to lose the race because of that. And of course, Obviously, I think it's really good that he did get the win because it would be really controversial. I think it would look even worse if somebody like Denny Hamlin got the win, or Austin Cindric, or even Joey Logano, who was kind of running up front there on that last restart with 2 to go. Just not the best look for NASCAR. And I think there are a lot of points of concerns after this weekend that need to be addressed. From the qualifying, which wasn't terrible. I hate to talk terrible about everything that NASCAR does and complain, but I will say this. I think NASCAR needs to look and say, let's reevaluate the All Star Race. For one, I think we probably do need to go to a different racetrack. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that. Everybody's been beating that to death, beating that horse. I think NASCAR can go to a different track, maybe back to Charlotte, and try this event again. I think that's what I would like to see. Change up the rules a little bit, maybe make it a little more simpler. Maybe make the rules a little more simpler, kind of like they were when the race first started. And I think that could help the All-Star Race and save the All-Star Race. I don't think the All-Star Race is gone. I don't think it's done. I don't think it's lost. But I think after this year and after the last few years, very negative fan reaction, at least vocal fan reaction, I think we can take a step back and say, let's just reevaluate this race, fix the problems that we had, try to kind of forget about tonight and fix that moving forward. I think that's what should happen for the All-Star Race moving forward. Anyway, let's get the negatives out of the way. Let's talk about a few things about the race itself. I do want to mention the big wreck. Basically, Kyle Busch had this race won. Kyle Larson said in his interview it was going to be impossible to beat Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch had the lead, so he had the clean air. Probably was going to have the clean air for the rest of the night. He was going to essentially blow everybody out, I think, in this race. He was way faster, obviously, and like I said, he had that clean air, so I don't know. I mean, he started on pole. He was so fast. I think Kyle Busch had this race won, and once again, I'm a huge Kyle Busch fan, and once again, he was taken out of this one in a major wreck. I don't know what went wrong with the car. I think it was a flat tire. He slowed down tremendously, went to the low groove of the racetrack, went down the racetrack, and in a situation like that where the car slows that quickly, Ross Chastain had nowhere to go. I think the crew chief said, or the spotter of Ross Chastain said he was looking at Ryan Blaney and didn't even see the 18 car till obviously it was too late. So that's obviously disappointing. NASCAR lost a couple of their most popular drivers there. Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, and Ross Chastain, who's gained some popularity. All those guys taken out in one wreck in the All-Star Race early on, only 48 laps in, only in the second of 4 stages in this race. That was obviously very disappointing to see, especially with Kyle Busch probably going to get this win. It looked like he was the guy to beat. It was Kyle Busch's race to lose for sure, and then for him to lose it from a tire failure in a pretty scary accident. That one kind of took my breath away. I was like, oh gosh, hope everybody gets out okay, because that was some heavy hits for Chase Elliott. Obviously some heavy hits for Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain as well. So glad all those guys are okay. Big accident though for sure, and hopefully we don't have any more accidents like that. That was a scary wreck, but it is unfortunate to see those really good race cars, Kyle Busch and Chastain, being taken out early in the All-Star Race. I do want to talk about a few of the drivers that finished up front. We had Ryan Blaney. Obviously, like I said, he won. And then, of course, Denny Hamlin finished second. Austin Cindric, pretty good run for him. He was fast all night. Was able to stay in the top 2s, top 3 all night. Wasn't able to beat Denny Hamlin on the fresher tires. Denny Hamlin had fresher tires than Cindric, but Cindric still finishing third is not a terrible run for him either. Then, of course, you have Joey Logano, who finished 4th. Suarez, not a bad run for him to get a top 5, finishing 5th in the All-Star Race. I know it's not a points race, but it is good to finally get a little momentum, I guess, moving forward, that you are a pretty decent fast car. There was a big field tonight in the All-Star Race. And then AJ Allmendinger, the Dinger, finishing 7th. Not a bad run for him. Part-time team was able to qualify for the All-Star Race with that Indianapolis Road Course win a year ago. They put them in the All-Star Race, finishing 7th. Not bad. Beat a lot of the other All-Stars tonight. For sure. The Brad Keselowski Racing cars did a pretty good job. They can take anything they can get right now, whether points or non-points. 8th for Buescher, and then, of course, Keselowski getting 9th place. He'll take a top 10 for sure, whether it doesn't matter how many cars are in the race or if it's a points race or not. Keselowski and that team can get whatever they can right now, as terrible as the start of the season has been for those guys. But yeah, that's the top 10. I just want to kind of mention a few guys. Next week, I do have a video planned for Thursday. I'm going to tell you why the Coca-Cola 600 could be back and better than ever, and we could see one of the best Coke 600 at Charlotte ever with the next-gen race car, and how well and how entertaining the next-gen race car is at the 1.5 mile cookie cutter tracks. Maybe not tonight, but hey, Kansas, Las Vegas Auto Club back in California had really great races, and of course Charlotte's somewhat similar to those tracks. They're the same type of track, intermediate style racetracks. I think the Coke 600 is going to be very entertaining next week. I think it's going to be 600 miles of mayhem, honestly, and it could be really good. I might be in attendance for that race. I'm not sure. I'll do a race review video as soon as I can after the race at Charlotte next week, obviously. But tune in Thursday for the race review video, or tune in Thursday for the video kind of leading up to the Coke 600. I'm going to tell you why it's going to be great. So not as much negative news going into the Coke 600. We'll try to end the night on a positive note. And then, of course, I'll give my race review, and that race is it. That's it. That's all there is to talk about after the All Star Race at Texas in 2022. And, of course, about Kyle Busch getting taken out in this race and kind of about the finish as well. Let's get rowdy.